It feels pretty obvious that although it's not been announced yet, the WWE draft for 2025 is on the horizon. We had the weird open window, the trade window at the beginning of 2025, where we saw Drew go to SmackDown and not many people really come to Raw. Bailey came to Raw, I guess. But it feels like we're due for that little ratings boost that comes with the draft every year. And now it feels like we're coming up on it. May is here. We're already almost 10 days into the month. Backlash is, at the time of this going out, tomorrow. I'll be live over on LS11 Universe to watch it. And so I've compiled a list of 7 names that I think could get drafted to Raw, and 7 names I think could get drafted to SmackDown. I'm going to run through each one of them and tell you why and where I would put them on the card. Some of them are NXT names, some of them are from one brand to the other. Now, I think there will be more than just 7 people swapping shows on each side, but then again, this is the same company that last year had an entire round of the entire 2024 draft be no trades whatsoever and had poor Michael Cole had to sit there and take the flack of, well, remember, it's just as important to keep your superstars. If you're going to do a draft, just make it for people swapping brands. Don't waste our time with round after round of like 30 people just being told, oh, and Seth Rollins is staying on Raw, and Cody Rhodes is going to stay on SmackDown. Cool? Got it. Thanks for the 5 minutes of your time that it took for us to say that. Have an I Show Speed cameo. He's not the fucking worst. I actually don't really know what he does. He's just loud and obnoxious. Oh. That being said, we're going to start things off with Monday Night Raw, as I think SmackDown probably has more of the big ones that I want to talk about. First things first, I'm just going to get these two out of the way at the same time, because if I say one, you know the other's going to happen. I think that it's very likely that John Cena and Jey Uso, with their respective world championships, are going to swap brands. Cena's announced for a lot more Netflix shows than he is for SmackDown tapings over the next 7 months before the end of the year. So I could easily see the world titles swapping brands. It also feels like it might be better to do that, as Raw has felt a lot more urgent as of late, and maybe SmackDown could do with the urgency of having a world title that does feel like it could change hands at really any time. Of having the B world title and having it on the show with the Roman Reigns of the world. Roman Reigns the Roman Reigns of the world, the Randy Ortons, the who else is on SmackDown that I could feasibly see win it? The Aleister Blacks, the people who could come out of nowhere and win it, like the Jacob Fatu's of the world, the LA Knights. It feels like swapping the world titles around gives the best chance for some people who otherwise probably never would become world champion with only one world title or the big WWE title to actually get a shot, like LA Knight, for example. I could easily see winning that World Heavyweight Championship. Whereas currently, I don't see him holding the WWE title, the Cena title, the Cody title. And also, it gives the opportunity for Roman to challenge for it, which I talked about in a previous video of something that needs to happen with that title to legitimize it on the same level as the WWE title. So I think Cena to Raw, Jey to SmackDown. Naturally, that would probably mean that, Cody would follow Cena to Raw, while maybe Rollins would follow Jey to SmackDown. But I don't have either of those names on this list, just for minor spoilers there. Next up on the list for Monday Night Raw, I've got Rey Fenix. I think Rey Fenix making the move from SmackDown to Raw is a must-do scenario at this point. Rey Fenix is on SmackDown. He's doing good work. He's having good matches, but he's also not really doing much of substance. He's having this strange feud with Santos Escobar where 1 minute Santos Escobar is praising him and the next he's putting him down, and, you know, you can only get so far feuding with Santos Escobar. So I think moving Rey Fenix to Raw, putting the Lucha Bros together, is going to give the Raw Tag Team division that shot of adrenaline that it really needs. Where right now the Raw Tag division is New Day, the Creeds, and the War Raiders, and I think that's about it. And New Catch Republic are there too, I guess. But when was the last time they were on Raw? The episode in England, I think? I'm looking at the Raw roster right now, and I don't see Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker going for the tag team titles anytime soon. I guess the Alpha Academy are there as well, as are the LWO, but I don't think any of us see them winning the World Tag Team titles anytime soon. Having the Lucha Bros there would really help give that shot of adrenaline we need, and would help to give us a very already established tag team from outside of WWE coming in, mixing up with New Day, mixing up with War Raiders, mixing up with the Creeds, and also, if the Creeds were to feud with the Lucha Bros, it would factor right into the El Grande Americano story, which I do think is starting to get onto its last legs and will probably be wrapping up by the end of the summer. I know he just won the Speed title, and Triple H sure does love long payoffs that take maybe a little too long, arguably. But it does seem like that story is going to come to an end, and I feel like it eventually will with the Lucha Bros, Rey Mysterio, and all the other top luchadors of WWE, cornering El Grande Americano, pinning him down, and ripping off the mask to reveal Omos. Up next on the list, following up on this Lucha Bros idea, I've also got that the Motor City Machine Guns should go to Monday Night Raw. I think them going to Raw would be a great move, personally, because, again, Raw needs that extra shot in the arm, and it feels like they won the titles on SmackDown like that, because they did. They showed up, they won the titles on their second week, and then after they lost them to DIY, they haven't done much. They missed out on WrestleMania. Instead of putting TLC there, they did it on the following week. It was an incredible TLC match, but now they've definitively lost to the Street Profits, who should be holding those tag team titles for a long, long time, and I don't think that they're going to be the team to defeat the Street Profits either. If I were going to be a betting man right now, and you were going to put a gun to my head and say, hey, Xander, you have to pick a team that's going to beat the Street Profits for these tag team titles, I would say it's going to be Fraxium. Just that would be the immediate assumption. So moving Motor City over Raw, while you do lose out on options of doing them versus Fraxium, running back them versus DIY, I also think there's other teams that could come up from NXT in the near future, or other teams that might end up in WWE, like the Hardys, who probably only signed a 1-year deal with TNA, let's be completely honest, if not a 6-month deal with TNA last year. And it feels like Jeff and Matt are going to be back on WWE television sooner rather than later. There's also other teams from NXT that could get called up, like Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne. And it's just dawned on me, I don't really know how many tag teams there are in NXT. I'd say Gallus, but they just got released. Up next on the list is Carmelo Hayes, and Miz probably would come with him for Mello Don't Miz. That being said, in a perfect world, Melo's going to go do his own thing and shine as a single star, and Miz is going to recruit Omos as a bodyguard, and I'm going to get all the royalties for it. I think Melo going into that IC title picture right now, with Dom in there, with Finn in there, with Penta in there, with all these big names on Raw right now that could really be mixing it up for the Intercontinental title. I'm looking at the Raw roster right now. I've got the rosters open in another window on my computer. AJ Styles is in the Intercontinental title mix right now with Dom, and I think that's going to be an incredible feud. Melo mixing up with AJ, and hopefully AJ not getting injured this time. Melo and Ilya running back their NXT feud. Gunther's a world title picture guy, but having Melo even do a match with Gunther, I think would be fun. Melo and Sheamus, Melo and Rusev, Melo and Sammy. Heck, you could even tease the idea that Seth Rollins kind of tries to get in the head of Melo and bring him in as like a second understudy to be alongside Braun. I've gone on record that I don't think Seth and Braun need anyone else in the group. I don't think it needs to be this big mega faction like everyone thinks everything needs to be nowadays. But I do think there's an interesting storyline there of maybe that causing the first bit of butting heads between Seth and Braun of like, hey, well, I'm your guy, Seth. Yeah, but this guy beat you for the NXT title. Up next on the list is Lola Vice from NXT. Just moving on to an NXT call-up here, the first of 4 that I've got on this list. And Lola Vice, it just feels like we're due for her on the main roster at this point. There's not much else for her to do. She's not won a title in NXT, and unfortunately with how stacked the NXT women's division is, and with all the potential TNA crossover we could be seeing from it, I don't think there's going to be a time where Lola Vice is going to win the NXT women's title or the NXT North American women's title. If she didn't win it in that ladder match at Stand and Deliver, I don't think she's going to win it. I think the best move is to move her up to SmackDown and have her mixing it up in the Intercontinental title, or move her up to Raw, rather, and have her mixing it up in the Intercontinental title scene. Or, I hate to be someone to suggest a Frankenstein, but look at the Raw roster and see if there's someone that would work for her to pair up with. I don't know, maybe her being the hired enforcer of Kiana James. Maybe her coming in and slotting in as another partner for Liv and Raquel. I don't know. As Judgment Day is probably about to split again. I feel like Lola Vice feels like a Raw talent, though. I feel like she's someone that fits Monday Night Raw better than she does on SmackDown. And so that brings me up to another woman who just, you look at her and I feel like she's a Monday Night Raw star already. I can see her in there immediately mixing it up with the likes of Lyra, Becky, Bayley, and the others, and that's Lash Legend. Unfortunately, we don't get the full metaphor on main roster, although I would have loved to see that, and I think we should have gotten it. I think Oro and Jakara getting released is absolutely heartbreaking, and I really wish we'd have gotten to see that metaphor entrance on main roster as a full unit. But there's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. And I think Lash Legend, her best use is going to be on Monday Night Raw. She's got the look. She's pretty good in the ring. We've seen her have some breakout performances. She was in the Rumble. Main roster audiences are already familiar with her from her time on main roster last year doing tag team title stuff. I think you just move her up proper to main roster. She could be another one that could be a good person to slot in as maybe a tag partner for Kiana James when she gets back. Or I think Lash can stand on her own two legs, absolutely no problem, and go after the Intercontinental title and eventually the Women's World title. I think the sky's the limit for a woman like Lash Legend. And kind of underwhelming, but finally on my list are Roxanne Perez and Julia for Raw. They're still listed on the NXT roster. They're still working NXT matches, but they're also working Raw matches regularly now. I think it's just a matter of time before we get to draft night and we see Road Dogg or Shawn Michaels or Godfather or JBL or Molly Holly or Trish or whatever legend they wheel out there go. And Raw selects Roxanne Perez and Julia. But I'll throw you one more, just one more for good measure, just to give you one more brand swap. Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. They're not going to do anything else on SmackDown. Nia's going to lose to Tiffany tonight. I'll be watching live over on LS11 Universe, by the way. You can hang out with me there. It's always fun. Really enjoy doing those streams. And that wraps it up for my people I think are going to go to Raw. John Cena, Rey Fenix, the Motor City Machine Guns, Carmelo Hayes, Lola Vice, Lash Legend, Roxanne Perez, Julia, Nia Jax, and Candice LeRae. That gives you 10 people swapping from SmackDown and NXT to Monday Night Raw. Moving over to the other side of the coin, though, with SmackDown, I'll do maybe a couple spur-of-the-moment ideas here just to kind of help out with the whole imbalance now, because I had it as 7-7, but it doesn't quite work that way now. And I've already said Jey Uso with the World Heavyweight title. I don't feel like I need to explain that one again. But up next on my list is Austin Theory. A-Town Down Under, if they're not going to break up, split them up in the draft. It's one of those cases where the two parts are greater than the sum of their whole. Does that wording make sense? I think that wording made sense. Grayson Waller staying on Raw, doing the Grayson Waller effect as his own thing, kind of being Raw's Miz. I think that's fine. Send Austin Theory over to SmackDown, have him start mixing it up in the US title picture, rebuild him to a single star that we all know he can be, let him show some personality, get his legs under him. A face turn might do him wonders. Something tells me that people can get behind him. They've just got to find that thing that makes him click. Being Vince McMahon's bitch was definitely not it in 2022. I don't know what they were thinking with that one. Well, actually, I think we all know what he was thinking with that one. But it wasn't work. It didn't work. His first three, two or three, has he only held it twice? It felt like forever. His 2 US title runs felt like an eternity. He was just, man, I'm Austin Theory. My phone's still plugged in. Look how cool I am. Yeah. A-Town down. Yeah. I beat John Cena. Like, that was his entire heel character. Was just, I'm Austin Theory. I'm a dick. And not even in an entertaining way. So I think definitely a move to SmackDown could do him wonders. If you turn him face, SmackDown needs some faces in the mid-card anyway. Have him have a breakout match against Jacob Fatu, maybe for that US title. Have him rebuild himself, and I think there's something there with Austin Theory. Otherwise, I don't know what they do with him, and I do worry for his future in that regard. Grayson Waller, I think, is going to be fine wherever he goes, whether it is Raw or SmackDown. And, if you really wanted to swap it around, keep Grayson Waller, or move Grayson Waller to SmackDown, keep Theory on Raw, have Theory mixing it up in the IC title scene, and have Waller maybe slot in if you move Mello to Raw alone. Have Waller slot in as the new guy that Miz is globbing onto, like the parasite that he kind of acts like nowadays. And I think that would work as well. Either way, one member of A-Town Down Under's got to swap brands, and they got to split up. It's lost its legs. It's gone. It's dead. Just give up, bro. It's over. All right, next up on the list, Karrion Kross and Scarlett. They are killing it right now. It seems like WWE may even go forward with calling him Killer Kross at some point. And his stuff he's doing on the Raw commercial breaks is great. I somehow see those living in the United States, but I get those somehow. He's doing great stuff during the commercial breaks. Do that on regular TV. SmackDown doesn't have as much time in the show as Raw does. Actually, it has more right now because it's 3 hours. Either way, you get him on TV, you have him doing that regularly, you get him against someone that people hate, and you have him just start spewing facts on them. Just have him start absolutely telling no lies about people that the fans want to boo. Get him in there, having him feud with people that people can't stand. You have him in there, you have him rip Solo apart for being manipulative. You have him get in there and you have him call out Randy Orton. You have him get in there and you could even maybe do something with Roman. I doubt you could do something with Roman. Roman's only around twice a year nowadays, it feels like. And Roman's probably going to spend the rest of his career feuding with Seth at this rate. But I could easily see Cross as the guy to stand up to Jacob Fatu and take that U.S. title off of him when the time comes. Granted, if I'm booking it my way, Jacob Fatu is going to break Moxley's record with that U.S. title, because I used to think that, Moxley having that record was funny, but now I can't fucking stand John Moxley. So, let the Death Riders end, Tony! Anyways, next up on my list is another big one. It's Rhea Ripley. I think if you're going to do Rhea and Bianca at WrestleMania 41 in a one-on-one match, 42. WrestleMania 42. We just had WrestleMania 41. I feel like if you're going to do Rhea and Bianca as a WrestleMania 42 match, you got to get one of them onto the same brand as the other. And I think Rhea moving over to SmackDown, much like what I said with Motor City Machine Guns, is a shot of life that SmackDown is going to really need in that division. Right now, we're looking at a women's division on SmackDown of Alexa Bliss, B-Fab, Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair, Chelsea Green, Alba Fire, Piper Niven, Jade Cargill, Michin, Naomi, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Zelina Vega. All of those women are great in their own way, but really the only one that holds a candle as a main event level star right now is Bianca Belair. I think almost every woman I just listed, like Jade Cargill, Tiffany is currently the champion, and she is a main eventer, but she's still treated as the kind of secondary women's story to whatever Bianca's doing at the time. I feel like almost every woman on that roster has potential. It's just a matter of who they'll shine the spotlight on. You move Rhea over to SmackDown, and that suddenly becomes the most must-see women's division, because you've got Rhea and Bianca on the same show. And you can build that feud for the next 11 months to get us to WrestleMania 42, where, along the way, you can turn Bianca heel, have her beat Tiffany for that women's championship, and run Bianca and Rhea as the main event of WrestleMania 42, at least night 1, if not night 2. Adding more life into that SmackDown women's division, I've also got Fatal Influence. Fallon Henley, Jasmine Nix, Jacy Jayne. Jacy Jayne's been in NXT for 5 years. She showed up in the black and gold era of NXT. Gigi Dolan's gone, Mandy Rose is gone. Toxic Attraction should have gotten called up as a stable to main roster. I get why they didn't with the Mandy Rose stuff. They should have just gotten called up as a tag team at that point. But ultimately, I don't make those decisions. I would have just called them up as a tag team and no one would have had to gotten released. But what do I know? Fatal Influence, they don't have much left they can do. Fallon's held the North American title. I could see them winning the TNA Knockouts tag team titles. I think that's not a 0% chance of happening. I could see them dethroning Ash and Heather by elegance. But at the same time, I think I'd rather just see them come to main roster and have a legitimate team going for those women's tag team titles. Liv and Raquel are great and all. I find them very entertaining. I find Liv just the right amount of annoying nowadays. But at the same time, I also think that at the same time, you've got to have a named team in there holding down that fort. The women's tag team title scene could be great right now. You have good teams. You've got the Secret Harvest of Alba Fire and Piper Niven. You've got Liv and Raquel, who are a great team. Michin and B-Fab, who have really good chemistry as a tag team. The Kabuki Warriors are going to be back sooner rather than later. Asuka and Kairi are both healing up fine. So that's already 4 teams there. You shouldn't have released Chance and Carter. I still think releasing them was incredibly foolish, but what do I know? And I'm looking at the main roster right now, and I feel like you add Fatal Influence to that mix, they can easily be a staple of that tag team division and hold it down. And then you could also pair up other people, like I suggested with Lash Legend and Kiana James, perhaps, of that kind of being the Rich Girls Enforcer, that kind of stuff. Up next, I've got Trick Williams coming up from NXT. This feels like a matter of time. I don't know if he's going to beat Joe Hendry for that TNA title at Battleground. I could kind of see it. I mean, I could see it. I feel like if they're going to do a title swap from one company to another, it's going to be the top title of one getting put on someone from the other. And it's going to be something involving Joe Hendry. You're either going to be seeing him as the NXT champion or losing the TNA title to Trick Williams, and then he'll win it back in a few months at like Bound for Glory, or he'll win it back in July at Slammiversary, like he should have won it last year at Slammiversary. But I digress. I feel like Trick is due for a main roster call up. There's nothing else you can do with him in NXT. I don't really think I care to see Trick and Oba one-on-one at this point. He's beat Trick in 2 different triple threat matches. He pinned him in the first one. I'm kind of done with Trick Williams in NXT. I just want to see what he can do on main roster. He's got the look, he's got the talent, he's got the charisma. You bring him up, he'll be an instant face. The whoop that Trick chant will get over with the main roster crowds, and he will be a guy that could easily be U.S. champion or Intercontinental champion in his first few months, and easily be a world champion in the first 5 years he's on the main roster. Well, this is Triple H main roster, so we'll say first 8 years, because it takes a little while to get someone up to main event level in a Triple H era. That's my biggest problem with this era. Everything moves at a snail's pace. It doesn't have to be instant gratification for everything, but it doesn't have to be a Lord of the Rings trilogy build for everything either. Find the happy medium, Hunter. Find the happy medium. And finally, CM Punk. CM Punk to SmackDown feels like an inevitability. Wrap up the feud with Rollins. You have Rollins beat him. Maybe a loser leaves Raw stipulation or something. Punk gets drafted to SmackDown, and then you can go off from there. If Cena's not going to swap brands, then you can do Punk and Cena at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. You can do Punk and Roman. You can do Punk and all these other different people that I'd like to see him feuding with. I feel like he's feuded with everyone there is to feud with on Raw. It's worthwhile. I mean, yeah, I think he's... I'd like to see Punk and AJ. I'd like to see Punk and Balor. I don't think WWE wants to see those matches. I'd love to see Punk and Cross. But there you have it. A little recap there for you. The world title swapping brands. Rey Fenix, Motor City Machine Guns, Carmelo Hayes, Lola Vice, Lash Legend, Roxanne Perez, Julia, Nia Jax, and Candice LeRae on Raw. Jey Uso, Austin Theory, Karrion Kross, Scarlett, Rhea Ripley, Fatal Influence, CM Punk, and Trick Williams to SmackDown. That's who I'd move around in the draft. Tell me who you think needs to swap brands in the draft. Tell me what you think of who I booked to move different brands. Again, who do you think should swap brands? Do you think there's going to be a draft this year? I don't know. If you don't agree, if you don't have anything else to say, tell me what you had for lunch. I don't know. I've been Xander. I'll see you guys next time.